Okay, picture this. North America, thousands of years ago. Diverse Native American tribes thrive, living in harmony with nature. They have their own languages, cultures, governments, basically they've got it going on. Then, boom! Europeans show up, convinced they've discovered a new world. Never mind the people already living there, right? Columbus, thinking he's found a shortcut to India, kicks off a wave of exploration and, let's be honest, exploitation. The Europeans, with their fancy technology and less than fancy hygiene, bring along some unintended souvenirs, diseases. These diseases rip through native populations, weakening them just as Europeans get greedy for land and resources. So begins a centuries-long struggle. Native Americans fight back against encroachment, but European powers, hungry for a piece of the New World pie, aren't exactly known for their graceful retreats. Fast forward a bit, and we're in the 1700s. The British Empire is at its peak, and the American colonies are bustling with activity. Britain's got a pretty sweet deal going, ruling over 13 colonies along the Atlantic coast. These colonies are a source of wealth and resources for the crown. The colonists, mostly British themselves, enjoy relative freedom and build a new life. They farm, trade, and establish communities that thrive in this new world. But, like that friend who always borrows money, Britain starts imposing taxes on the colonies to pay for their fancy European wars. These taxes are seen as unfair and burdensome. The colonists, not exactly thrilled about being treated like walking wallets, start throwing shade and tea back at the crown. Protests and acts of defiance become more common. Tensions escalate faster than you can say Boston Tea Party. The infamous event in 1773 sees colonists dumping an entire shipment of tea into Boston Harbor as a bold statement. Suddenly, we've got ourselves a full-blown revolution. The colonies unite in their fight for independence, and the Revolutionary War begins. Colonists, armed with muskets and righteous indignation, face off against the mighty British Empire. It's a battle for their future and their freedom. It's a David and Goliath story for the ages. The underdog colonists take on the world's most powerful military force. Against all odds, the ragtag American forces, led by General George Washington, future face on the dollar bill, secure victory. Their perseverance and strategy pay off. The United States of America is born, a shining beacon of liberty, in theory at least. The new nation faces many challenges ahead, but the dream of freedom has taken root. Now independent, the newly minted USA has to figure out this whole governing ourselves thing. The excitement of independence quickly gives way to the daunting task of creating a functional government from scratch. Cue the drafting of the Constitution, a document so important we keep it under really safe glass. This wasn't just any document, it was a blueprint for a new nation, a guide to how the country would operate. There are arguments, compromises, and more arguments. The Founding Fathers debated fiercely, each with their own vision for the future of the country. Should states have equal power, or should population size matter? This question sparked intense debates, leading to the Great Compromise, which balanced the needs of both large and small states. What about slavery? Spoiler alert, they kicked that can down the road with some pretty messy consequences. The issue of slavery was a ticking time bomb, one that would eventually lead to a national crisis. Eventually, they hammer out a system of government with three branches: executive, legislative, and judicial, designed to prevent any one person or group from having too much power. This system of checks and balances was revolutionary, aiming to ensure no single entity could dominate the government. It's a work in progress, but hey, what government isn't? The early years were filled with trial and error, as the new nation learned to navigate its own rules and regulations. The nation starts to grow, expanding westward, fueled by a belief in manifest destiny, the idea that it's their God-given right to control the entire continent. This expansion was seen as a divine mission, a justification for the relentless push westward. Native Americans, already pushed off their land, are less than thrilled about this development. The westward expansion led to numerous conflicts and further displacement of Native American tribes, a dark chapter in the nation's history. Section 4. Brother against brother, a nation divided, then kinda sorta put back together. Remember that whole slavery issue they tried to ignore? Yeah, it was a ticking time bomb that finally exploded. It comes back with a vengeance in the 1860s, tearing the nation apart at its seams. The nation splits in two, the Union in the north and the Confederacy in the south, over the issue of states' rights, and, let's be real, the right to own other human beings. The conflict is as much about power and control as it is about morality. The Civil War is a brutal, bloody affair, pitting brother against brother, neighbor against neighbor. The battles are fierce and the casualties are staggering. In the end, the Union prevails, slavery is abolished, and Abraham Lincoln, the president who held the nation together, delivers some pretty epic speeches. His words resonate through history, embodying the struggle and the hope of a nation. Sadly, he also gets assassinated, which is a real downer. His death leaves a void in leadership during a critical time. Reconstruction, the period after the war, aims to rebuild the South and integrate formerly enslaved people into society. It's a time of great promise and significant challenges. It's a noble goal but deeply flawed in its execution. The efforts to create a more equitable society are met with resistance and often fall short. Racism and resentment run deep, leading to Jim Crow laws that enforce segregation and disenfranchise Black Americans. The legacy of these laws would haunt the nation for generations to come. Section 5, From Sea to Shining Sea, Manifest Destiny and Its Discontents. The late 19th and early 20th centuries see the USA become an industrial powerhouse. Railroads crisscross the nation, connecting the coasts and fueling westward expansion. Cities boom, attracting immigrants from all over the world, seeking a better life, and creating some pretty fantastic melting pot cuisine in the process. But this rapid growth comes at a cost. Labor exploitation, environmental degradation, and the continued displacement of Native Americans cast a shadow on the Gilded Age. Progressive reformers fight for social justice, but true equality remains elusive for many. On the world stage, the USA emerges as a global power, flexing its military might in the Spanish-American War and World War I. Isolationism, the desire to stay out of other countries' business, loses its appeal as America grapples with its newfound role on the world stage. Section 6. The American Century, World Wars, Boom Times, and Fighting for Equality. The 20th century throws some curveballs America's way. The Great Depression, a devastating economic downturn, tests the nation's resilience. World War II, a global conflict against fascism, calls on Americans to once again defend democracy abroad. The post-war era brings prosperity and a baby boom, but also Cold War tensions with the Soviet Union. The threat of nuclear annihilation hangs over the world, making everyone a little bit more on edge. The civil rights movement, led by courageous activists like Martin Luther King Jr. and Rosa Parks, challenges segregation and discrimination. Through peaceful protests and acts of civil disobedience, they demand equal rights for all Americans, regardless of race. Section 7. The Future is Now. The USA in the 21st Century. The dawn of the 21st century brings new challenges and opportunities. Technological advancements, from the internet to smartphones, transform the way we live, work, and connect with each other. Globalization creates interconnectedness, but also raises concerns about economic inequality and cultural homogenization. The USA faces internal divisions and political polarization, grappling with issues like climate change, healthcare, and immigration reform. Its role in the world is evolving, as it navigates a complex geopolitical landscape and confronts new threats like terrorism and cyber warfare. Despite the challenges, the USA remains a land of opportunity and a beacon of hope for many. Its history, though messy and complex, is a testament to the enduring human spirit and the pursuit of a more perfect union. The story of America is still being written, and its future remains to be seen.